this time, let's begin today's webinar, CMMI V2.0, Online Capability Maturity Platform Accelerates Speed to Performance, Resiliency, and Scale. It is my pleasure to introduce your moderator for today, Ron Lear, Director of IP Development, CMMI Products and Services, Chief Architect, CMMI Institute. Ron, you have the floor.
Thank you, Jessica. Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening to everyone around the world. Thank you for joining us today. We're looking forward to talking to you and sharing you some of our success stories with CMMI version 2.0. That's very exciting news from us in the Institute point of view, and we're looking forward to discussing this with you. I'm going to jump right into our introductions. Joining us today, Christin Rauche is Vice President, Digital Embedded Systems with GE Aviation. Christin holds a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering and a master's degree in mechanical engineering and a doctorate in industrial engineering. She is the author of numerous referred journal articles in ergonomic work assessment, vibration analysis, and system safety. After starting her career with Pratt & Whitney designing software logic for engine performance and operability, Christin joined GE Aviation as a lead engineer in commercial control systems. Most recently, Christin led the Aviation Engines Embedded Software and Prognostic and Health Management Aviation System Chief Engineer's Office, Safety and Certification, Advanced Technology, Product Security, Edison Engineering Excellence Organization. In February 2017, she joined GE Aviation Digital as the Digital Embedded Systems P&L lead for vehicle health and data management products. So, welcome, Christin. Also joining us from Blue People today, Ruben Chalico on the capability management team with Blue People. He's currently part of that team and helped to lead their Maturity Level 5 CMMI deployment and adoption through 2018. He is passionate about innovation and improvement. His creative mindset thrives on constant and sudden change. His diverse background ranges from R&D and ultrasonic systems to manufacturing automation, and it provides him with a wide perspective leading to effectively developing solutions. I would also like to introduce Héctor González. Héctor is a principal consultant at Blue People and a managing partner at Kernel LLC. He has a BS in software development, studied mobile programming and cryptology at University of Kuopio in Finland, and holds an MS in information technology at Carnegie Mellon University. Héctor is also a CMMI instructor, CMMI lead appraiser, and has trained more than 800 engineers in software development best practices, coached over 50 software development teams, and appraised over 30 different CMMI organizations. So welcome to our panelists today. So let's talk a little bit what our agenda is going to be. I'm going to just set the stage a little bit here in talking about why performance and capability are so important. And then we'll turn it right over to Christin, and she's going to give us a little bit of their journey at GE on what they've seen business value-wise with CMMI. And then we'll move over to Blue People and hear about their Maturity Level 5 performance benefits using the model and a number of techniques to get accelerated growth and scale. And then we'll kind of bring it home with a summary of some of the new benefits and performance improvements that we've designed into the new version of CMMI, version 2.0. So a little bit about the Institute itself. We are an Osaka enterprise. Our mission is we're the global leader in advancement of best practices in people, process, and technology. Our goal here is to drive performance through capability. So why do we care about capability so much? In a 2015 study we did, we basically asked a lot of organizations, that was well over 100 organizations, about what their capability was. Now, we define capability as anything a company does well. And what we heard from them is that 50% of them don't have standard processes or process assets or job aids in place. From a capability perspective, 41% aren't encouraging employees to build organizational capabilities. And then a whopping 54% talk about they don't measure what really matters to them as a business. Looking at the history of the CMMI and the number of years that it's been in place, there's been over 10,000 organizations who have used the CMMI to continually to get better, to outcompete their competition, and to address and grow their businesses. We have 12 national governments actively using the CMMI in 106 different countries around the world. We are currently translated into 10 different languages. We have currently 391 partners around the world. And for 2018, all-time high, we hit a 4,049 number of appraisals that have been recorded. So other indications in terms of people trained, other adopted measures are showing us that 2.0 is really starting to get the interest of the world again, and we're very excited about that. So why do people adopt the CMMI? When we talk to our customers and to our partners, basically it boils down to two things. I want to build capability to improve my business results, and I want to be able to just demonstrate that to my customers to win new business. So with that set as a stage, I'm going to turn it over to Christin. So Christin, why don't you go ahead and jump in and tell us about your story with GE Aviation Digital.
Thank you. So at GE Aviation, we started this journey exactly for the two reasons that you just described, Ron. We wanted to improve our capability because we want to deliver excellent products to our customer. And we also had potential customers inquiring as to our maturity level. So in 2014, we decided that there was enough motivation to really start our journey in CMMI. So we partnered with an appraiser and picked a team and built really a team that really cared about process. And GE had a very disciplined process because we developed safety-critical software for engines and avionics. However, as software is increasingly becoming more complex, it's getting bigger, we knew that we had to maintain the same level or better of robustness for our customers, and we had to be able to react to software changes and do them reliably in a short amount of time. So we saw this as an opportunity to really explore where the vulnerabilities were, where we could find some potential weaknesses that we could target for improvement. So in 2015, we completed our appraisal of 1.3 and to a maturity level of 3. We renewed that appraisal in 2018. And at the time of our original appraisal in 2015, our appraiser asked us if we wanted to test what the Institute was developing in terms of a cybersecurity model. And at that time, we had a customer in the vehicle health and data management space that was very concerned about cybersecurity for its system. And they were demanding a process and documents and requirements to us that we had never done before. We put a process in place. We modeled it after our safety process. But at that time we realized, because it was new for us too, it was the first time we actually had to demonstrate capability to a customer for cybersecurity, it would be a really good idea to get an independent assessment as to how capable that process was. So in 2015, we became the first company in the world to demonstrate capability in the security by design model that was being beta tested. In 2016, we completed the pilot appraisal for, at that time, the next-gen safety and security model. And in 2018, we completed the beta appraisal for the CMMI Secure Development for 2.0 model. And for us, it really validated that we had a really good process. However, we knew we had some weaknesses that we had to develop. We needed to look at how do we use metrics to guide improvements, how do we develop training across the entire organization. And we had plans for these, but we didn't have them completely developed yet. So the appraisal acted as a validation of the path that we were pursuing, as well as helped us focus the time and the resources to address the areas that we knew were weak. And go to the next page, Ron.
Okay, thank you, Christin. So to kind of recap on that, why do you think that, from your perspective on building capability that you mentioned, what are the key benefits that you've seen out of that in your business today?
So in the aviation business, we develop both safety-critical embedded software as well as non-embedded software. However, for both, the goal of our work is driving various operational outcomes for our customers, such as safety, efficiency, productivity, as well as customer experience. And we used our appraisal process to help us become more robust in all of those areas. Especially safety is something we always put first, and I've had a lot of focus on for many decades now. However, because there's become more systems on aircraft, more complicated interfaces, more complicated control of how the engine and the avionics systems are working, the potential for error there is definitely increasing. So by doing the appraisal, both for security as well as the version 1.3 appraisal, we learned that we had some areas to go address. And these areas were known, but it helped having a third party identify them to get the senior leadership support to go address them and give them the focus that they deserve.
Thank you. And you also mentioned when you were first talking about that you got a group of people who were passionate about performance and process. What was the contribution of that to your success, do you think?
So when I started this activity, I didn't want it to be another, check in the box, people roll their eyes around process improvements. I wanted us to really be able to learn from it and derive the most value that we could. So for me, number one, it was important to select an appraiser who was engaging, who cared about the outcomes that we would get from this process, who could work well with my team. And then when I went to select the team, I selected people that had demonstrated energy, enthusiasm, and follow-through in our process improvement activities in the past. And I believe by building that team of passionate people, it became not something that we had to do and a check in the box, but it became a journey of how we knew we were going to get an outcome that was going to drive us to be better. And it really made the whole activity worthwhile, but and demonstrated the impact of a strong process to other people in our company who didn't have that awareness before.
Thank you, Christin, and I think that's a great foreshadowing of what we'll talk about towards the end around one of the new capability areas in 2.0 on sustaining habit and persistence, because I heard you talk to that very clearly in what you just said. So thank you, Christin, very much. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Héctor and Ruben to talk a little bit about their journey to maturity level 5 with Blue People.
Thank you, Ron. Hello, everyone. My name is Ruben. Blue People is a young Mexican IT company founded and driven by millennials. We started developing software with Scrum and Agile methodologies But as we grew, we faced two main challenges: a highly competitive market and bigger, more complex projects demanding more consistent processes. So we needed to do Agile better, improve our quality performance, and prepare our company for an organized growth. We adopted CMMI. Why? Because it works. It is very well known in Mexico, is proven and supported around the world, flexible, scalable, and builds high-performance organizations. At a maturity level 5, our organization continually improves its processes based on quantitative understanding of its business objectives and performance needs. Watts Humphrey once said, "If a software engineer wants to negotiate a difficult or impossible date with their boss or customer, without data, they will always lose." Our software engineers understand the value of tracking precise data and are able to monitor themselves and recognize one-day deviations. They understand their performance. They accurately predict delivery times and take corrective actions when needed. They are able to predict future outcomes and respond to our customers' changing demands. CMMI provided us a clear roadmap to look beyond team performance to apply lean and agile principles at the system level in order to achieve stability while also improving our organizational agility, keeping us responsive to new challenges and opportunities. So these are 8 takeaways from our approach: the use of prediction models during sprint planning, Kanban board for risk management, our own measurement and project management framework, processes based on agile principles, team ownership and commitment, continuous learning mindset, TSP quality management, and the Six Sigma toolkit.
Hi, this is Héctor. Let me share with you some comparisons to other benchmarks and the improvement results we achieved at Blue People. As a high maturity organization, we established quality as one of our main objectives to improve. We introduced a defect injection prediction model, which teams use during the sprint planning to help them decide the type and depth of design specifications to be used. Defects delivered to customers were reduced up to 40%, thus reaching 1.95 defects per 100 hours. In 2016, the total cost of quality, the time spent on defect-related activities, was close to 50%, and most of it was allocated to testing activities. Currently, in our latest baseline, after code inspections were introduced, our failure cost of quality has dropped to 23%. We still are improving the effectiveness of our reviewing activities, but we can conclude that CMMI supports agile environments to improve quality performance. Applying CMMI to existing agile processes helped us to improve our efficiency by over 50%. The task hour efficiency for completed tasks was improved from 55% to 84%. As a result of our CMMI adoption, Blue People has consolidated themselves as a high maturity organization in the journey for continuous improvement, developing strong capabilities to compete with the industry's top performers. And as a lesson learned, the secret is to implement an agile but high-performance process from the start, using CMMI as a roadmap, and then high maturity and capability will follow naturally. Thanks.
Thanks, Héctor. So I think I'd like to just sort of bookend what we just heard from Christin, Ruben, and Héctor with a little bit more to sort of drive where we've been with version 1.3 and previous versions of the model and where we're going and where we are with version 2.0. So as we talked about and you heard from Christin, Ruben, and Héctor, driving capabilities drives business performance while mitigating risk. Organizations who achieve particularly high maturity can actually move the needle on reducing rework, reducing defects, reducing cost and risk, at the same time increasing speed, quality, customer satisfaction. We've seen that over and over in the data that's coming out of not only 1.3 but 2.0. Siemens, for example, saw a 25% in their productivity. Raytheon has seen a 42% reduction in the cost to rework. And General Motors has seen a 70% increase in meeting their milestones. So given all these things, what we took from all of our lessons learned for 1.3, and with version 2.0, we moved them into an integrated product suite. The 5 components, including the model, the appraisal method that you just heard about, training and certification processes and paths, support systems and tools for it, and then something that's new to the CMMI version 2.0. A lot of organizations were doing this either on their own, they were home growing it, they were doing different ways of doing it, sometimes they were doing it in an ad hoc fashion, but we've put in step-by-step adoption guidance, and you've heard from both Christin, Héctor, and Ruben today about their journey on this, that they've taken a successful path. So we wanted to make that repeatable to every organization who adopts the CMMI version 2.0. We wanted to make it easier for them to jump on the bandwagon here and get to start getting those benefits much more rapidly, much more effectively. So how did we do that? Well, we took what we had in the model that was working. We took the stuff that was in the model that wasn't working and got rid of it. And we built on all of that all-around performance. So those of you who are not familiar with version 2.0, some of the things that we've added, we've now grouped the abilities that we have, or capabilities, into major categories, and we've broken those down further into practice areas. In the current state of the model, there are 10 capability areas existing that are being used, with about 25 practice areas that basically hits everything from developing products and services, delivering service and supplier management activities to your customers and so forth. Pretty much any pain point you have as an organization, version 2.0 will help you address. And the benefits of this are, it gives you the ability to quickly improve your business performance by leveraging a current set of best practices. Now the good news is, for those of you who are familiar, version 1.3 has been out in the world for about 8 years before we did a refresh on it. Those of you familiar with ISO and other similar standards know that it takes a while to push new content, push updates to those standards. We have now gotten into a cycle with version 2.0 being able to release new content about every 6 months. So in March of this year, we launched the development model, followed by, in December of this year, we launched services and supplier management, which basically brought all the previous versions of the CMMI up to speed and more current. We've also, you heard from Ruben at the very beginning of his discussion around Agile. We have built Agile directly into the model. There's been some myths and misperceptions out there that Agile and the CMMI don't work together. You've heard from Blue people that's not the case. There's a lot of other organizations. In fact, of the appraisals, that appraisal number I talked to you about, 4,049, a growing increase of over 89% of those organizations are actually using Agile when they're doing their software systems development. So that's helping us to debunk the myth that Agile and CMMI don't work together. And then we are pretty much the premier benchmark capability and performance around our appraisal method. And one of the things we did with version 2.0 is to make sure that they were done in an integrated fashion so that they work together really, really well to get to this 5th goal, and that is to help organizations accelerate their adoption of the model. As we've had in the past, there's an evolutionary path that you can move up through, level 0 up through level 5. And as you move up in levels, you basically build on the approach. So organizations starting off for the first time have the ability to start measuring themselves right from the very beginning. Level 1 practices are very simple, very straightforward. We had other things that we built into version 2.0, including plain language, which included the ability to translate the model better, make it more understandable. It used to be at about a double PhD level of readability. We've got it down to just below or just above a high school level now. We're continuing to improve that. All that's helping us to increase these outputs that you're seeing here, increasing capability and increasing performance. So these evolutionary paths really basically talk about the journey you go through from a process improvement perspective. You're initially addressing performance issues at level 1, and then you start identifying progress towards your objectives. When you move into the level 3, you're seeing organizational learning and organizational performance benefits. At level 4, you begin to actually understand your organizational variation, and you can start to predict and improve where you can actually achieve those objectives. And then at level 5, it's the self-raising bar. It continually improves the organization's capabilities, performance, and quality. So level 5 organizations, as they go through this journey, continue to see more and more opportunities and improvement. So here's the slide that I've mentioned just a few minutes ago. I said 89, it's actually 80%. Organizations using Agile. So again, we're seeing a large adopted benchmark of a lot of organizations using Agile in all of their appraisal activities. So for version 2.0, we've boiled it down to 3 types. Benchmark equates to the previous known as Scampi A. That's where you actually get you can get a maturity or capability rating out of that. It is the most structured, it is the most rigorous, but we also have a relatively flexible and relatively lean and agile approach called the evaluation appraisal, which gives you the ability to quickly benchmark where you are, identify where your gaps are, and move through those. We also have given people an option to do a more frequent view to keep their rating refreshed, and that's in the form of a sustainment appraisal. That can be valid for 2 years because we heard from our end users and customers that basically they wanted better insight when organizations went through things like reorgs, etc. They wanted to have better insight as customers. So this slide gives you kind of the big picture. When you talk about the type of work that you're doing, whether you're a services organization, whether you're a software developing organization, hardware, pretty much name any type of business out there, the type of work you're doing can be broken down into basically 4 categories. Doing the work, managing the work, and enabling it. And we've broken that into then these capability areas. And the reason we're doing this breakdown for this is to give people a better way to start, I'll say, chunking up the model to adopt it easier. So it's not a matter of, gee, I've got 25 practice areas on the right, I don't even know where to start. Nope. You look and identify where your pain points are, and then you select the things in the model that address those pain points, and you start there, and it can help you move forward quickly. And we heard from both Blue People and GE that those targeting mechanisms that we had in versions of the model really were kind of key to helping them improve and accelerate their growth. And that's what we're looking for, is to really move this to a faster way to address those pain points. And then Christin did a great job of talking about the passion of people around process and performance, that this really applies to everyone in the organization. And we broke some of the things in version 1.3 that were, I'll say, a little bit more burdensome, a little bit more overhead intense for organizations, and we replaced them, formerly known as the generic practices, we replaced them with this idea of sustaining performance, persistence, and habit. And it means that basically that processes and the benefits of following them are not abandoned under stress. There's visible and active senior management. You heard that from Christin very loudly and very clearly. And there are consequences for not following or following established processes. So the reward system and the accountability is aligned with how processes actually work in the organization. And that's a real key distinguisher for version 2.0 as we go through. So persistent becomes you continue with that even in spite of difficulty or opposition, and the habit makes it harder to break that or give that up as you move forward. So as I said, whatever your pain point is, the CMMI has a solution for you. We have 3 current views. We have several more planned. You heard that Christin's talking about, and we're planning on, I'm happy to say that we've got plans for 2019 for the security by design practice areas along with safety. are in the works right now for planning to come out this year. We've got others in the works after that, and we're continuing to listen to the market and to our customers where the demand goes after that. So we have the development view for developing quality products and services for meeting the needs of customers and end users. We have the services view that helps you basically effectively deliver quality service offerings that also meets market and customer demand. And then managing suppliers and vendors in a way that maximizes supply chain efficiency and reduces risk. Supply chain risk management is a really big hot topic right now, and all three of these together, but particularly supplier management, really hit that target. So what we're seeing and what you heard today from both GE and Christin and Blue People with Ruben and Héctor are their ability to take the development review view of the model and increase their quality, reduce their costs, improve their time to market, and gain organizational agility and hit those important things for customers like safety and security. The services review or view gives you the ability to look at this from a customer loyalty perspective, develop resiliency around your services if you happen to have interruptions to services and so forth, make sure that those services are quickly and efficiently brought back online, and increasing the overall cost of service and quality. The supplier management view, I keep saying review, is for organizations who are acquiring components, goods, and we've had a couple of really great success stories here with version 2.0. In particular, one of the most recent events we had where we were piloting our 2.0 performance report, one of our customers looked and found that of their 17 suppliers, 70% of the defect rates that they were getting were basically boiled down to 3 of their suppliers. So again, back to those pain points, that supplier view gave them the ability to hone in on where those issues were and work with those suppliers to basically address those quality issues in a much faster method than they had in the past. So who else uses CMMI? I'm not going to go through this list. Many of these company names and logos should look familiar to you, and this list continues to grow. As we're sitting at today, there's about 605 of you and growing on today's webinar. And as we were looking through the list, we noticed there's a lot of new company names and people that I, for one, have not recognized as being involved or interested in CMMI. And I'm really happy to hear that as product architect and as a product development manager for the Institute. So with that, we're going to go over and move into our Q&A part of this webinar. And we're going to just start supporting these. So I'm going to go through the list as we go through here, and what I will tell you all is I'm already seeing a large queue. There's close to 20 questions in here. We will probably not have time to answer everybody's question on the webinar, but we do have a recording of all the questions that you're putting into the queue here, and we will address them after the webinar either through some sort of FAQ or direct response back to you and so forth also. So first question, how does CMMI 2.0 promote usage of the latest software engineering practices like test automation, DevOps for faster and error-free production? That's a great question. Part of what we did with version 2.0, there's a new set of information and best practices embedded into the model called context-specific information. We've built Agile, and taking a couple of pages from DevOps, we have moved operational concerns, transition to operations, moving basically the development cycle from operations to the left. DevOps calls that the 3 ways, so taking the first way, moving the operational aspects of the development further left into the life cycle to make sure that those are in play. Also, we are looking at how the CMMI, those of you familiar with Microsoft Team Foundations, Team Foundations actually has the framework in it for building a DevOps foundation around CMMI. So we're looking at several partners to continue that as we move forward. So stay tuned for more. We are looking at building in DevSecOps into the model for a future release. So those views actually help with that. So Héctor and Ruben, this is over to you, question for you all. When you first started your journey, how long did it take you to go from where you initially were to your maturity level 5?
All right, thank you, Ron. So 3 years ago, we were developing with Scrum and Agile, and we did a gap analysis, and we found that we were close to maturity level 3. With our eyes set on level 5, we sat down and asked ourselves a question. And to come back to what you said earlier, Ron, we asked ourselves, what is our greatest pain? So we answered. The answer to that was our stability of our data. So we introduced our measurement and project management framework at that point. And from there, in later 2 years, we started improving until we were appraised as a level 5 organization.
Thank you. So our next question is, if a company is rated at maturity level 3 for development and services 1.3, can we upgrade directly to 2.0, level 5, or complete level 1.3 level 5, and then migrate to 2.0? And the answer is yes. We have transition and adoption paths that you can take. Now, you can't skip levels. You can't skip from level 3 to level 5 in either version of the model, but if you're, let's say, you're maturity level 3 right now in development, you can certainly just easily migrate over to, if you want to run your next appraisal as a 2.0 appraisal, that's certainly something. We are accepting appraisals. Effective January this year, we started accepting 2.0 appraisals, and I'm happy to report our first one has come through, and it's been reviewed and accepted. It was a high maturity level 5 appraisal. First company in the world. It was in India, and I'm very excited to tell you that the performance report that we got from that particular appraisal is full of just absolutely crystal clear performance data on how the model actually helped them improve their business. So I'm very excited that that element of 2.0 has come into play there. So, Christin, for you, how many people or rough percentage of people in your organization have been trained on your CMMI process in terms of labor hours? Can you give us kind of a ballpark figure there?
So the appraisal team itself, the first one we did was 6 people. However, trained probably a group of supplemental people. Was probably a group size of 20 that would participate in the interviews and help us gather artifacts. As we proceeded along the process, we probably definitely every quarter, we would advertise a summary of what we were doing, what was accomplished, and what was going to be done next to the entire organization and senior leadership, so they would have an awareness of what we were doing and know how important it was to us, because most likely something was going to come out of it that would affect them, and we wanted to understand what the process was that we went through to identify these improvements and why they were important to the organization.
Thanks, Christin. I've got a couple of, I'll say, quick and easy answers I want to hit very quickly here. First one is who to contact for guidance on training for 2.0. Any questions relating to our certification path, training, etc., you can find that on the CMMI Institute main page. If you see up at the upper top, it says Learning. All of our certification paths to become a professional, lead appraiser, etc., are all laid out there very clearly. Likewise, you can go there and look for our partners, our CMMI partners, so I want to shout out to all of them. You can reach to them in terms of scheduling a model upgrade training. If you already have had 1.3, you have folks in your organization who have had 1.3 training. Our partners are authorized to do model upgrade training. And then we're working on actually the new paths for version 2.0 appraisers and instructors. We've been through close to 1,400 people have gone through that upgrade training as of the end of last year. and we've seen about 82%, I think it's 82% of all of our current lead appraisers and instructors have already been through the upgrade training. And several of those folks were basically looking to retire with 1.3. Once they saw version 2.0, they changed their retirement plans and decided to stick around and be part of the fun in terms of helping other organizations improve their performance. We have a couple other questions here. How does CMMI overlap with or complement ISO? So I am an ISO 9000 lead auditor. I'm also a member of the U.S. Technical Advisory Group for ISO. I wanted to make sure that what we were doing both complemented and learned from what ISO was doing well and what ISO wasn't maybe doing as well. So we have a much more frequent ability now with the online model to actually push content out there very well. But what I will tell you is that the CMMI framework, as you put it in place for your processes, if you want to move over to ISO 9001 or the 31000, which is the risk management, 20000 for services, 27001 for information assurance, etc., the CMMI framework basically gives you a really good leg up there. I can say that with authority because an organization I worked at, we did a pilot using CMMI 2.0 process approach. The organization went through a CMMI for services maturity level 3 rating, a CMMI for development maturity level 5 rating, and ISO 9000 2015 audits all in the same year, all within 6 months, all passed with flying colors. In fact, there was no prep time in any of those, and it was all using the same CMMI version 2.0 process framework. So they work together very, very well. Another question here, can CMMI 2.0 be used for a company that develops machines but not develops software? The answer is absolutely. CMMI has been used by a lot of the organizations that you saw on the slides that you're seeing now that basically enable them to do that. I've worked with a number of hardware organizations around the world. So yes, it can absolutely be used beyond just software. It can be used in software systems, etc. The power of 2.0 is that it gives you the ability to pull in whatever you want. So we had several questions on DevOps, for example. You really can't be doing DevOps without being able to address both the development side and the operational and services side, which is why we now have the perfect marriage of both. You could actually select both CMMI for services and CMMI for development and really kind of cover that full gambit as you go through this. So, Ruben and Héctor, this is a question for you. Can you guys give us an ROI for your level 4 and 5 to justify the expense? I know you've used these numbers with us before, so audience would like to hear about that.
Okay, so our strategy basically was to work project by project instead of level by level. So besides that all of our projects followed natural processes, the return on investment was evident at the performance improvement we got at each project. So we basically improved 3 times the delivery on time with our customers, and we improved like 4 times our quality in our project performance.
All right. Got 1 or 2 more quick questions we'll go through here. Someone asked very quickly if there's an executive summary of 2.0. The answer is yes. The opening of the model, there's about a 5 to 10 page executive summary that talks about the model, a very brief description. Someone asked about if the security PAs are an add-on. No, they will be actually part of a new view that will be pushed out this year. So they'll be basically part of that, the regular part of the model, just another view as we look. And then we had a question about is PARS, so those of you who don't know what PARS is, that's our published appraisal results system. That tells you which organizations in the world have actually achieved their level rating, etc. PARS is being revamped. We do have a new appraisal system that's coming out this year. PARS is part of that, so we will have a new ability to report much better in terms of how people are adopting and using CMMI. Okay, So it's about 2:47. I'm going to just hit one more question. Sorry. We have a question in here on currently level 3 appraised. The next Scampi is in August of 2019. Yes, you would have time to basically adopt to 2.0, given one caveat, that whole comment we talked about habit and persistence, to make sure that your processes, if you had to make any changes to them, that you were able to put that in place in a way that, you know, showed and demonstrated that habit and persistence. So again, I think that pretty much, yeah, so we're getting a lot of questions on how much time it takes to achieve certain levels and so forth. So we'll follow up with that after the webinar today. I'm showing it just about 10 of the hour. So I think at this point, I wanted to just say, first and foremost, thank you, Christin, thank you, Ruben, thank you, Héctor, for joining us today and talking a little bit about your journey and the success you've had from both building capability and performance. It's very exciting, and I'll be interested to continue to talk with you and stay engaged with you all. For those of you who are not aware, in May of this year, April and May of this year, is our Capability Counts Conference. April 30th it starts and goes to May 1st. It's in Reston, Virginia, here in the U.S. We have a link here for this, and we have a discount for people. For all of you participating in the webinar today, there is a discount code that will be part of that, so you're willing to. We look very much forward to having you join us at the Capability Counts Conference this year. We can go into much further and more detailed discussions about a lot of the questions that you have here today. So thank you for attending. You can learn more. This is our website at cmiinstitute.com. This is also our email. As I said, just a quick wrap up. Those of you who would like copies of the slides, if you go down to the widget in your attendee panel here, you look for that little, basically the resource widget. There's a little sheet of paper icon that will enable you to actually download today's slides. We are recording the webinar. That will be pushed out and made available in the near term. And then we still have a log of about, I don't know, 5 or so questions on here. Now we've just got a whole pile more. So we have a lot of great questions here. So thank you for those. We will sift through them. A lot of them are common questions, so we'll do some analysis on that, like I said, and reach back to you all either through a broadly published FAQ on our website, or we'll get back to you individually. Lastly, for those of you who are interested, who want CMMI services for your organization, I would have you go to our Institute website and look for partners. Our CMMI partners provide all that information. They can provide you with appraisal services, with instruction and training, and so forth. So please do reach out to those partners for help as we go forth. So thank you all for your time today. Thank you for attending. Very excited to have future webinars like this, so send us your ideas on future webinar topics. And with that, Jessica, thank you for your help today. Thanks to everyone, Christin, Ruben, and Héctor, for your involvement. And everyone have a great day or great evening.